Hello and welcome to the Talking Talent podcast, the podcast for talent professionals. Exciting one this week. Obviously, by now you probably know me, but I'm Ben Sewell, joined by my not so glamorous assistant today, because he was giving me beef just before we hit record, Mr. Dale Taggart. How are you?
It's just so rude. So rude.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's an exciting one this week, though. I don't know if anyone's listened to our first series, but Dale was very passionate about early careers. I think, if I remember rightly, it was our first or second episode on it as well. So we needed someone who kind of knows their stuff about it, has a bit of an inkling of what's going on, and, it'll be quite helpful. So we've trawled LinkedIn, looked at experts, Googled experts in early careers, and we was really fortunate to stumble across Holly Hobbs. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, our pleasure. So just for everyone who's listening or watching on YouTube, give us a bit of an intro to you if you can.
Sure. So my name's Holly Hobbs. I am an ex-degree apprentice at Microsoft and now a co-founder of a company called urfuture. The reason I start off with that ex-degree apprentice bit was because it marks the start of my journey in early careers in business. So when I was a degree apprentice at Microsoft, I started to document my journey online on TikTok about apprenticeships, early careers and all that jazz. And I gained traction quite quickly and got so many young people resonating with the struggles that I had getting into early careers. So struggling with applications and struggling to understand the world of work. And so I basically started a company called Apprentivia, where I was working with all different types of organisations to create some recruitment marketing content for them and post it to my TikTok channel, which I have grown to 47,000 followers now. And then,
Wow.
My business recently has merged with another company called urfuture, and I've joined them as co-founder, and we are building the UK's fastest growing job app for young people. So it's basically a job app based on behavioural science. So it's like a matching algorithm. So a young person creates a profile, it's no CVs, and they input data points about their personality. And then off the back of that, based on behavioural science, which the founder Tom created with a professor from the University of Oxford, it matches young people to careers that would be best suited to them, and then also jobs. So the employers on the platform are also matched to young people that are best suited to them that might not have necessarily thought about that career before. So that's a bit about what I'm doing now.
So I think there's a little bit of a lag with the old internet there, so just kind of missed the last bit. But everything that you've done so far is really exciting. But how did you, I guess from the TikTok side, like what was the spark behind that to get you kind of invested and started with all of that?
It's a great question. I think I was someone that really struggled to understand apprenticeships and the world of work and all that jazz. So when I actually got inside of it, I thought, why don't I just start documenting my journey to show other people that were like me, that were confused about it? Because that's what I wanted. I noticed how there wasn't really some sort of visual piece of content around different jobs that I was applying for, because that's how, as a Gen Zer, that's how I understand information, that's how I consume content, that's what I'm used to. And there wasn't that. So I sort of wanted to shed a light on that and fill that gap. And that's how it came about, really.
Perfect. Dale and I were speaking just before you joined, just to make sure we was prepping and things. And I think Dale used the phrase fangirling over you. Because looking at, so we're very comfortable in that kind of millennial side of generations. Mm-hmm. And trying to look at kind of the differences and being able to kind of capitalise on, I guess like if you're thinking about a game like a pack of cards, of the sort of hand you've been dealt. And I think there's so many opportunities, especially for someone kind of as a Gen Z, for example, where you've got social media literally at your fingertips, you've been brought up with it. There's no kind of adapting to that and adapting to those changes. Like everything is kind of there at your fingertips. But I don't know if it's fair to say, but Gen Z, everyone seems to basically just be an entrepreneur or be a business owner of some kind.
Yeah,
and you generally seem to be so successful, and there's very little fear of starting something. Is that fair to say, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there was some sort of stat, I don't know the exact stat, but there was some trend spotting on Companies House around how the amount of Gen Z directors, like young directors, have just increased compared to other generations. So, yeah, entrepreneurship is, I'm not going to lie, it is quite glamorised online. It is portrayed as the most successful route and how you become successful in life. It's almost like climbing the 9-to-5 corporate ladder, for example, is deemed as this is not successful. You're not going to be free. You're not going to be okay financially, etc. if you do that. So entrepreneurship is very accessible nowadays because of social media as well, and also it's looked upon as this is the version of success, and a lot of people are aspiring to that because of how social media makes it look. So I think it's a mixture of the two things, how accessible it is and how easy it is now to start a business and understand how to grow it, and also the perception of it online.
I mean, I think they're always got that extra bit of tenacity. I think when we always look, it was always like, yeah, you got to put your time in before you can think about branching out and going it alone, or being a consultant or running your own business. It's always like, oh, we can't even think about doing that until we've done our time, as it were, as if it's some kind of prison sentence. So I think they just kind of think of it differently. I guess you kind of, again, Ben mentioned it, you come into the realms of it's already been there, whereas we kind of had to adjust to the new ways of social media and the new ways of connecting with different people, and the ways of working. But I kind of see there's a lot of pushback on the ways in which the corporate world is, and some of it may make a dent, some of it obviously may not. I think there are still businesses potentially too big to fail. We'll see. I'd like to think that nobody's too big to fail. But one thing I've always found is, trying to attract the younger people into certainly industries. When I was in the railway, that was a very aging workforce. The statistics were mind-boggling, looking at some of them and how low the percentage were of people under the age of 30 in the railway. But it was always kind of I felt like we were sleepwalking towards a bit of a crisis in many ways, of going, well, if we're not attracting younger people in, a lot of these older people are going to retire, and we've not thought about that pipeline kind of coming through. And we managed to kind of extend a little bit in terms of apprenticeships and things like that. But I guess where it's probably still a bit of a struggle is, in general, those jobs, how to attract that younger generation. What is it that they're really looking for if they are looking to come into a standard workplace and not looking to be an entrepreneur, as it were?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. I always say that in the press, and there's a common conception among employers that the main thing we're looking for is to see that there's like a pool table, or there's like pizza on a Friday or something like that. But actually it goes more deeper than that. Gen Z I always speak about Gen Z as though it's not my generation. We as a generation, we're looking to know that the employer matches our values. One, that's really important to us. That we can have flexibility in a work-life balance. So there's a perception that Gen Z are lazy and they don't care about working. Actually, we're really ambitious, but a lot of us have seen how much other generations, like our parents, have dedicated their all into work, and maybe their personal lives not as much. And alongside social media and how much it's presented as like these perfect lives on social media, and all these people are doing all these amazing things, and we're seeing their highlights all the time and not their lowlights. We feel as though actually we want to be making sure our personal lives are fulfilling us as well. So there's quite a big emphasis on that. So flexibility is important to us. And that also draws into the whole mental health piece, flexibility equals for us great mental health, because we don't want to be burnt out. And the things that get us ticking are hearing about your purpose. So the purpose, why would I work at this organisation? What purpose are you going to bring me into? What are we working towards? We're very purpose driven, as I said, about values. We also want to make sure that we're making an impact. Purpose, pay, really important thing. We want to know how much we're going to be paid. And number 3, progression. We want to understand that we're not just going to stay stuck. We are actually really ambitious, despite the press calling us lazy. And we want to see that we can have a great career and we can have progression. And I think as well, I hear managers say that Gen Z come into the workplace and they want to be manager immediately, or they want to be this immediately. But actually, like you say, everything is all at our fingertips right now. We're learning at a much quicker pace than any other generation used to. And so as a result, we are doing things quicker, we're learning quicker, and we do want to progress quicker. That's all it is. And so I think sometimes people just need a bit more support with expectations and what that looks like, basically. So those are the main things: pay, progression, purpose, and what I said about flexibility and mental health and stuff like that. And environmental is a big one, but that sort of comes into the purpose as well.
So kind of big on that social purpose side of things. So in terms of the kind of channels then in which we're best, likely to reach these people, obviously we'll say social, but how do we reach those people on social? Because we all know that job boards are, some people say on LinkedIn, are a dying breed.
Yeah.
On both sides, we end up as recruiters not necessarily getting the value back because we're just getting so many applications, but I feel like we're getting less applicable applications. We're not getting in front of the right people, and I feel like partly because, again, on the other side, job seekers aren't looking to job boards anymore because they just feel like they're just full of rubbish, and they're not really getting the feedback that they would like. They're not getting told whether they've been rejected for a job or not. I've heard there's a lot of ghost jobs as well, or sometimes the job boards aren't taking down jobs that have closed in the right frame of mind. So, obviously that's a dying breed, I guess, unless they revolutionise, change, and whatever else. We'll see how they adapt. But how is the best way to get the message? So say if you're an organisation, you're hitting all those things, you worship flexibility, you care about your social purpose, it's one of the big things for you, you really want to ensure that progression is there. So you're ticking all those boxes of what Gen Z want, but how do you make sure that you put yourself out there for them and attract them into the business?
Great question. Okay, everyone grab a notepad and pen because I've got loads to say. Right, so I'll start off with a bit of context around this. So over 1 in 3 Gen Z are relying right now on social media, influencers and content creators to shape their career decisions, essentially. And 50% of those young people prefer career inspiration on TikTok over the traditional platform, careers platform, LinkedIn, which is really interesting. And then that in itself will be one of my points around authenticity. That is really indicating a perceived shift towards authenticity because TikTok is very known for that. And then last thing I'll say is that 66% of 16 to 20 year olds are using social media to job hunt at the moment. So it is a very big one of their channels. And I think to paint the picture even more, a lot of employers that I speak to are wanting to really focus on hiring young people from maybe lower socioeconomic backgrounds or different communities, whatever. And I think it's really important to speak about that landscape and show how those that maybe don't have connections or they don't have, their school isn't fully equipped, maybe their careers teachers or whatever aren't fully equipped with all the knowledge, they don't have access to work experience or events, maybe their parents don't have certain knowledge that they need, those people are turning towards social media or AI even, because they don't have that support network around them. So there's that chunk of people on social media that these employers will struggle to reach on job boards and elsewhere, because they're scrolling on social media to find that certain information. Because social media is personalised, it speaks to them directly, right? If they're getting a personalised experience, they're more likely to go to that than a job board where they have to search for something that they don't even know what they're searching for in early careers. So my best tips for attracting people on using social media are: one, platforms. So TikTok is your best bet at the moment. Obviously these things change, so in 5-10 years it could be something else, but right now TikTok is the place to be. Instagram's a close contender after that. Now these two platforms are really important at the moment and are ones that employers should be really investing in, because they've actually integrated with search engines like Google. So it means that now when you search on Google, obviously AI answer comes up at the top. So instead of traditional SEO, AI SEO is also another really important thing to be investing in as an employer. But after that, Google and search engines are now suggesting videos as well. So they've got long form videos on YouTube, which is another great platform to attract Gen Z if you can sort of be really consistent and create a cultural moment, or use influencers. And short form video, there's now a short form video tab. So at the top where it's like video, news, all that, there's a short form video tab, and it does come up on the search as well, where that is actually integrating with Instagram and TikTok. So when people search how to get an apprenticeship, for example, we'll go on the short form video tab, my videos come up straight away. So Gen Zers, Gen Alphas even, they'll be so much more likely to use that as an answer to get that more personable response than they would scrolling pages of Google. It's just not going to happen anymore, especially with AI. So those two platforms are really important, and investing in putting in the keywords in all your all your video descriptions are really, really important with that. And then Snapchat is another great one. As I said, YouTube is another great one. Facebook is great for the parents if you're trying to reach those, obviously, but not so much young people. And then the second way is, obviously that first one is you can create organic content. You can do paid ads on those platforms, or you can engage with influencers. So there's loads of different types. You can engage with influencers that are specific for careers. For example, myself, there's loads of other different influencers. Or you can engage influencers that are specific for sectors. So there might be some people that create content about history or about construction, whatever. Or there might just be influencers that engage Gen Z as a whole, like YouTubers that are really successful. There's one called Nico, don't know if you heard of him, Nico Milana. He's really, really good. He's got Gen Z absolutely captive. Anything he posts, that guy. He's just launched a sweets brand called Shades. Every Gen Z loves him. So there's like loads of different scales that you can use for influencers as well. And in terms of creating content yourself, the best tip I can give is to make sure you've got a strong hook. And to be honest, that just goes a lot further than just social media. That goes into the emails you write, that's about your website, about any videos that you have on your website, about even your presentations that you're going to do in assessment centres, for example. Having a strong hook is what will be the deciding factor on whether a young person will actually listen to what you've got to say or not. Even if they're having to be there for an assessment centre, they can easily switch off. So a hook should be something to do with health, wealth, or relationships. Those are the most important things, and that really get us as a generation ticking, and need to be within the first couple of seconds, otherwise we're gone, basically. That was like a whistle-stop tour of socials and like how to be successful in them. Obviously there's so much more that goes into it, you know, there's so much to do with strategy and all that, but that's more personalised stuff, which I won't go into obviously today.
No, it's really fascinating. I think it's just the amount of info, and I'll be honest, the amount of work that you can do in terms of like the cost side, it's actually quite minimal. As long as you actually just, it's posting, it's just the time side of things, isn't it? And that awareness piece. So I think, you know, any sort of larger organisations with bigger budgets, in theory, should be at the forefront of this. It's probably fair to say. Because you mentioned the paid ad side of things, they should be, right up in everyone's face to say, hey, look at us 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So in terms
Some of
of...
them even have their own actual social media accounts. So Barclays, the bank, have one. BT Group have one. Superjog have an account. There's a couple more, but I can't really remember. But yeah, some of them actually have their own accounts, but that's not necessary. So for the organisations with smaller budgets, you don't need to have your own account. I think a lot of the time people think that's the only way to success, but actually there's going to be a very, very niche audience that's following you as an employer, and often they won't be interested in your early careers because they're following you for like your consumer products and all that as well. So you have to often create your own employer brand early careers account, which those organisations that I just mentioned have, but that requires a whole team, all that jazz. So you're better off just either running a couple of paid ads or engaging pages and creators and influencers or whatever that have that audience already there for you, and being consistent with them and maybe long-term partnerships with them and things like that. That's probably a better use of budget.
Yeah, I think this is probably why a lot of companies are sort of hiring content creators internally now, that full-time rather than just almost outsourcing it. It used to be sort of 5-10 years ago, especially in sort of places I've worked at, where we'd outsource, not necessarily like graphic design, but everything like that, to say, hey, we want to run this campaign for 3 months or something, and these creative agencies would go and do it themselves. When we'd obviously pay thousands for these things, whereas so many companies now are almost having a budget to have a team of content creators inside, social media managers and stuff, but are very good at the content shoots as well.
Yes.
Where I am at the moment, we've got it. There's a guy called Sean who's come in and he's bloody brilliant. And he, honestly, the shoots he does, and I'm just like, what are you doing? I don't understand it at all. And he talks me through it. I'm like, I can't see that. Then you see the clips and the social clips after. I think, oh my God, that's bloody brilliant. And it blows my mind, that sort of, because I'm not a creative person. So anyone that's kind of, once you're involved in that side of things and you do see the results, you think, bloody hell, it's worth it. And I think so many companies are starting to see that, I guess, moving forwards. Yeah,
when I create the employer campaigns that I do, some of the teams will just be with me on the day, just there, just in case we've got any questions while we're filming or whatever. And then at the end of the day, they'll be like, I have no idea what to expect. I've just seen you running around, getting all these clips. They're just like, how is this going to turn into a video? And then when I send it over, they're like, whoa, they're like, didn't expect that, that's amazing. They see how it's all pieced together now.
I love that. So do you want to just give us a little bit of an explanation around your future then, if you don't mind? Sure. Just tell us exactly what you do, what the offering is, and I guess so people can find out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so where do I start with your future? I think
sales pitch, go.
Let's start at the origin. The idea was, obviously it's founded by a guy called Tom, who used to work at QA, which are a massive apprenticeship training provider. He used to work there when they were just starting out, and he's seen it from the training provider perspective and the employer perspective, and also the young person perspective, being an apprentice himself. And then I've also been an apprentice myself, seen it from that employer perspective as well. And so we've sort of gone on different journeys, but we've both seen how there's that gap of young people understanding careers, and then employers being able to access those young people that might not have thought about that career, and also access them without any bias and things like that. So yeah, it's essentially, the platform is an app. It's like a bit of like a Tinder style job application, which is quite cool. So the interface is where they can swipe left to reject, right to apply for it, or they can swipe up and it favourites the job. And it's basically, as I said at the start, built on behavioural science. So Tom did about 1,000 hours of interviews with all different people from all different professions to build our own behavioural science algorithm effectively. And we've then built out loads of different career sectors and all the working traits that someone needs in order to be best suited to that career off the back of that. And then a young person will go on and complete this gamified assessment, which is collecting around 60 or something like that data points about them, about their personality. So it's nothing around their work experience, what they've previously done, their grades, anything like that. And then, yeah, essentially it matches them to a bunch of careers after that, and it matches them out of a score of 10. So I think on mine, when I did mine, the top one was something like design, creative and design, and then it was marketing, then it was sales, which is perfectly related to me. And then also, when you go through, it explains to you using AI, so only bit of AI we're using, actually why you're a good match to that career. So it's like personalised career advice as well, and then it also gives you tips for certain industries if you wanted to get better at them. And then after that, you're also matched to jobs as well on the platform. So we're launching with 7 of the largest training providers in the apprenticeship space and quite a few employers. And then, yeah, we're starting with the apprenticeship market, and we'll go out to grads, we'll go out to internships and entry-level positions. And yeah, the idea is to become the #1 job app for young people. So like Spotify is for music, like Hinge is, or Tinder for dating, Deliveroo for your food. Our ambition is to become that job app for young people where they can get personalised experience and personalised career advice, basically. Obviously, there's loads more to it. Like on the employer side, they get their whole interface, the recruiter side, etc. But I'm not going to bore people.
And in terms of anyone that's interested in kind of find out a bit more, how will they find you? How do they get in touch?
Sorry, say that again. You cut out.
Sorry, in terms of anyone that's interested in find out a bit more, how do they get in touch? How do they find out a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Holly Hobbs, or there's our website, urfuture.io, and there's a form you can submit on that if you want to get in touch. Yeah.
Perfect. Joe, I feel like I've learnt so much about Gen Z now. It's ridiculous. And you've made me feel like I'm about 65 years old. I'm near retirement age at this point. But I think it's interesting, especially for kind of what we're trying to do here as well. Like the talent space, it's changing so much so quickly, and the early careers it seems to be something. Obviously, I know you went to Wreckfest as well, obviously last week, Holly, and everything was obviously around AI and things. But there was a few talks kind of around that early careers side, and it's not a priority for a lot of people, and it seems to be sort of dropping more and more. But obviously, someone like yourself, being very heavily involved in it and living through that kind of apprenticeship side of things as well, how much it's failing, and it's such an underutilised part of your recruitment armoury, I suppose, as well, isn't it?
Sorry, cut out again. I got to know how much it's failing, and it's such, and then it cut out. Yeah,
it's failing, but it's such a good opportunity for absolutely everyone to really get that almost that hidden talent bank and that hidden pool of candidates, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah. And I think it's a lot about building your future pipeline as well. There's obviously a lot of skills gaps at the moment, so that's only going to get bigger. But also with our generation, we're so, as I said about the values part, we are all about building connections and being invested in community. So the employers that do it best are those that are showing up consistently and they're providing value, and they're not just going, oh, we've launched an early careers program or an apprenticeship program, whatever it is, go and apply to it right now. Employers that do that are eventually just going to lose relevance in the Gen Z world, in our space, because our relationship with brands are built on trust. And so those brands that we trust, we're more likely to go and apply for and be loyal to. That's a lot about retention at the minute. So if you're constantly showing up earlier than you need to, you're going to build that level of trust, and ultimately you're going to be the preferred employer of choice when it comes to them making a decision.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it really is food for thought, and I think anyone that's looking at their budgets for the next 12 months, looking at their sort of talent strategies, even their people strategies to a certain extent, I think you really need to to focus on the early career side, or at least start exploring it and have that as an option.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially, as you said, that succession plan side of things, it's so important.
And I think people often think they need to launch a massive early career scheme. They need to be, I don't know, doing loads. You don't need to be when you're first starting out. Just start small, that would be my advice. To be competitive, you don't actually need to have a massive apprenticeship scheme. You just need to be making sure you're marketing it well and you're showing up and you're doing all the things that I've spoken about previously. I think a young person would much prefer to work at a company that shows up, that aligns with their values, that clearly invests in their people and cares about them, than a company that just hires loads and loads of apprentices just because they're much more concerned about all those other things rather than the number. So just start small would be my advice. You don't need to launch a huge program, and make sure you're conveying the benefits of your program and how much you're investing in your talent, and your plan for growth is really important.
Oh, sorry, we lost you at the last bit there, but I think it'll. Hopefully, on recording this, will catch up.
Do you want me to repeat that last bit?
No, it should be fine. I think the guys got it. I can see it all going through, but we'll clip these up a little bit anyway. But I think it's probably a good point to end. I think there's so much food for thought there for everybody. I think there's lots of tips. I think your knowledge is absolutely invaluable, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see where your future goes over the next couple of years as well. Obviously, you've got some massive plans. You're working with some huge clients as well. And I'm sure Dale, after this, is going to be fangirling for real, because he loves the early career stuff. He's a big advocate for it as well.
Oh my God, love it.
So I think everyone who's listening at home, I hope you've learned something from Holly. Her LinkedIn is going to be in the description below, so make sure you connect with her, have a chat. But yeah, just on behalf of us, Holly, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
It's been a pleasure. And guys, hope you've enjoyed that. But any questions, direct it to Holly.
Yeah,
but yeah,
see you soon.
Thanks for listening. See you soon.
Bye-bye.